She looked down on me at Christmas dinner. I paid the bill and walked away. Christmas dinner was supposed to be warm, joyful, family. But then she laughed. Not with me, at me. Right there at the table. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't defend myself. I just made one quiet decision that changed how that night ended, and why she never looked at me the same again. My name is Thomas Brennan, and I'm 37 years old. I teach high school English in a small town in Vermont. It's not a glamorous job, but it's one I'm proud of. I've been doing it for 12 years, and I've watched kids who couldn't read at grade level walk across graduation stages with college acceptance letters. That matters to me more than a big salary ever could. I'd been dating Caroline for almost 2 years. We met at a bookstore, cliché, I know, but she was reaching for the same obscure poetry collection I was, and we ended up talking for 3 hours over coffee. She was beautiful, sophisticated, worked as an executive assistant for a law firm in Burlington. She had this way of carrying herself that made her seem like she belonged in bigger places than our small town. For the first year and a half, everything was good. Great, even. We'd spend weekends hiking, trying new restaurants, reading to each other on lazy Sunday mornings. She'd come to my classroom sometimes after school and help me grade papers. "You're so patient with them," she'd say, watching me work through a student's essay. "I could never do what you do." I took it as a compliment then. But somewhere around the 18-month mark, things started shifting. Caroline's younger sister, Victoria, moved back from Boston. She'd been working in finance, making what Caroline constantly described as serious money. She was 32, single, drove a Tesla, and had opinions about everything. And she didn't like me. I could tell from the first dinner we had together. The way she looked at my 10-year-old Subaru. The way her eyes lingered on my off-the-rack blazer. The way she asked, "So you're still teaching?" Like it was a temporary phase I should have outgrown. "I love teaching," I'd said. "How noble," Victoria replied, in a tone that made noble sound like naive. Caroline had laughed. Nervously. But she laughed. That should have been my first warning. Over the next few months, Victoria became a constant presence. Sisters' brunches. Shopping trips. Long phone calls where Caroline would pace around my apartment, her voice getting higher and more animated. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, Caroline started looking at me differently. "Have you ever thought about going into administration?" she asked one night. "You could make more money. Have more prestige." "I don't want to be an administrator. I want to be in the classroom." "But don't you want to grow? Advance?" "I am advancing. I'm getting better at my job every year. That's growth." She'd smiled, but it was tight. Unconvinced. Victoria says her ex-boyfriend was a teacher. He ended up going to law school. Now he makes 6 figures. Good for him. But I'm not interested in law school. I'm not saying you should go to law school. I'm just saying there are options. Ways to build a bigger life. My life isn't small, Caroline. I didn't say it was small. You implied it. I just want you to have ambition. Is that wrong? I have ambition. Just not the kind you're talking about. These conversations started happening more frequently, each one leaving me feeling like I had to justify my choices, like the life I'd built wasn't enough. Then came the invitation. "My family does Christmas dinner every year," Caroline said in mid-December. "Big thing. Everyone comes. My parents really want to meet you." "I'd love to meet them." "Great. It's formal though. Like, nice clothes formal. My dad's a retired judge, so he's very traditional. I can handle formal." "I know, I just mean, maybe we could go shopping? Get you a new suit? My treat." I looked at her carefully. "What's wrong with my suits?" "Nothing. They're fine. I just thought, for meeting my family, maybe something a bit more current." "Caroline, I'm not letting you buy me clothes." "Why not? I want you to make a good impression." "I'll make a good impression by being myself. If that's not enough, then maybe I shouldn't meet them." "Don't be like that. I'm trying to help." "Help with what? What about me needs fixing?" She didn't answer, which was an answer in itself. Christmas Eve arrived. I wore my best suit, navy, Well-tailored, perfectly appropriate. I brought wine and flowers. I was nervous but ready. Caroline picked me up. She looked stunning in her emerald green dress. But when she saw me, something flickered across her face. "You look nice," she said. "But." "No but. You look nice." The but was silent, hanging in the air between us. The drive to her parents' house took 40 minutes. They lived in one of those sprawling New England estates with a circular driveway and actual columns on the porch. Old money. The kind that's been accumulating for generations. "Wow," I said. "This is beautiful." "Yeah, my dad inherited it from his father. It's been in the family forever." We walked in. The house was decorated like something from a magazine. 14-foot Christmas tree. Garland everywhere. Expensive. Tasteful. Perfect. There were about 20 people there. Caroline's parents, Richard and Helen. Her older brother Christopher and his wife Amanda. Victoria, of course. Various aunts, uncles, cousins. Everyone was dressed impeccably. Everyone looked comfortable in this world of wealth and tradition. And then there was me. The introductions were polite but cool. Richard shook my hand with the grip of a man assessing whether you're worthy of his daughter. Helen smiled, but her eyes did that thing where they scan you head to toe in about 3 seconds and make a complete judgment. "Thomas teaches English," Caroline said. "At the high school." "How rewarding," Helen said in that tone wealthy people use when they mean how quaint. "It is," I said. "Very." "Christopher's a corporate attorney," Richard said, gesturing to his son. "Just made partner at his firm." "Congratulations," I said. "Thank you. It was a lot of work, but worth it. The compensation package is quite comprehensive." Everything with this family seemed to come back to money and status. We moved to the dining room. The table was massive, set with china that probably cost more than my monthly salary. I was seated between Caroline and an uncle whose name I immediately forgot. Victoria was directly across from me. That felt intentional. Dinner started. Multiple courses. Wine flowing. Conversation about skiing in Aspen, summer homes in Cape Cod, investment portfolios. I mostly listened. This wasn't my world, but I knew how to navigate social situations. I was polite, engaged, asked appropriate questions. Then Victoria started in. "So Thomas, Caroline says you've been teaching for 12 years. "That's right." "And you plan to keep teaching?" "I do." "I love it." "But no plans to move into administration?" "Leadership." "Teaching is leadership. Every day I'm leading 25 teenagers toward better versions of themselves." "That's a lovely way to look at it," Victoria said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "But don't you ever want more? More than making a difference in kids' lives?" "Not really." "I mean financially. Teaching doesn't exactly pay well, does it?" The table got quieter. People were listening now. "It pays well enough. I live comfortably." "Define comfortably," Victoria said. "Victoria," Caroline started. "What?" "I'm just curious. I think it's admirable, actually. Choosing passion over profit. Very romantic." The way she said romantic made it sound like foolish. "I make $58,000 a year," I said evenly. "I own my apartment outright, bought it with an inheritance from my grandmother. I have no debt. I save 20% of my income.
I'm financially stable." 58,000 pesos, Victoria repeated.
And that's after 12 years. That's the salary scale in public education. Yes. Wow. I mean, that's barely middle class, isn't it? "It's a good living in Vermont," I said. "Sure, for Vermont," Victoria said. "But don't you want to do better? For yourself? For Caroline?" Caroline's face was red. But she wasn't stopping her sister. "Caroline has her own career," I said. "She doesn't need me to do better for her." "Of course not. But let's be realistic. If you two got serious, marriage, kids, all that, could you support a family on a teacher's salary?" "People do it every day." "People settle every day," Victoria corrected. "Caroline deserves someone who can give her the life she's used to."
"No offense."
"Victoria, that's enough," Caroline said weakly. But the damage was done. And I could see it in Caroline's eyes. She'd been thinking the same thing. Victoria was just saying it out loud. I think teaching is wonderful, Helen chimed in, trying to smooth things over. We need good teachers. It's not usually a long-term career for people with ambition. I have ambition, I said. Just different ambition than you're used to. Different, Richard said. That's one word for it. Then Christopher jumped in. You know what you should do. Get your law degree. Teachers make great lawyers. You've got the public speaking skills, the analytical thinking. You could triple your income in 5 years. I don't want to be a lawyer. But why not? Why limit yourself? I'm not limiting myself. I'm choosing myself. There's a difference. Choosing yourself into poverty, Victoria muttered. A few people laughed. Uncomfortable laughter, but laughter nonetheless. I looked at Caroline, waiting for her to defend me, to shut this down. She was looking at her plate. I'm sorry, I said calmly. What was that, Victoria? I just think it's interesting. You're choosing a life of financial struggle out of what? Bride. Stubbornness. I'm not financially struggling. You make $58,000 a year. That's struggling by any reasonable standard. By whose standard? Yours. By objective standards. You could do so much more if you just had a little ambition. I have plenty of ambition. I'm ambitious about shaping young minds, about literacy, about creating confident, critical thinkers. Just because my ambition doesn't result in a 6-figure salary doesn't make it less valid. It makes it less practical, Victoria said. For who? For Caroline.
Victoria snapped.
Look, I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. Caroline comes from a certain background. She has certain expectations. And a high school teacher who makes $58,000 a year isn't going to meet those expectations. That's just reality. The table was dead silent now. I looked at Caroline again. Her eyes were wet, but she still wasn't saying anything. Caroline, I said quietly, do you agree with that? She opened her mouth, closed it, looked at her sister, looked at her father. I want you to want more for yourself, she finally said. I want what I have. A job I love. A life that matters. That's more than most people can say. But it's not enough, Caroline said, and her voice cracked. Is it? Be honest. Could you give me the life my parents gave me? Could you afford this? She gestured around the room. No, I said. I can't give you this. But I thought that wasn't what you wanted. I thought you wanted me. I do want you. But I also want. I don't know. More. Victoria laughed then. Actually laughed. See? Even she knows. You're a nice guy, Thomas. Really. But you're not realistic. You're not enough. Everyone was staring at me, waiting to see what I'd do. If I'd argue, get angry, make a scene. I didn't do any of those things. I stood up calmly, pulled out my wallet. What are you doing? Caroline asked. What does this dinner cost? I asked Richard. Per person. Rough estimate. Richard looked confused. I'm not sure. Maybe $150 per plate with the wine. Times 20 people. That's $3,000. Who's paying? I am, Richard said. It's Christmas.
I'm hosting.
I'd like to pay, I said. Don't be ridiculous. I insist. I pulled out my credit card. Caroline, you said I'm not enough. That I can't provide. Let me prove you wrong. $3,000 for Christmas dinner. I'll pay it. Right now. The room was frozen. Thomas, you don't have to do this, Caroline whispered. I know. But I want to. Because contrary to what your family thinks, I can afford it. I choose not to spend money this way because I have different values. But I can. So let me. Thomas, Caroline started crying now. This is insane, Victoria said. Is it? I looked at her. You questioned whether I could take care of your sister, whether I had the resources to be with her. So I'm showing you. I'm paying for this $3,000 dinner. And then I'm leaving. You don't need to leave, Helen started. Yes, I do. Because this dinner made something very clear. This family doesn't respect what I do, doesn't value who I am. And Caroline. I looked at her. You don't either. Not really. You love the idea of me, the teacher who reads poetry and makes you feel cultured. But when it comes to actually building a life together, I'm not enough. That's not true. It is true. You let your sister attack me for 20 minutes and said nothing. You agreed with her. You said I'm not enough. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. And that's okay. We want different things. I just wish you'd told me sooner. I handed my card to Richard. Please charge the dinner to this. All of it. Richard looked at the card, then at me. Son, you don't have to. I'm not your son. And I do have to. Because I need to prove something to myself. Richard slowly took the card. Walked to wherever he processes things like this. 5 very long minutes passed in complete silence. Richard came back. Handed me the card and a receipt. $3,147.89 with tax and tip. It went through. Thank you. I turned to Caroline. I need you to understand something. I'm not leaving because I can't afford you. I'm leaving because you can't afford me. Not financially, emotionally. You don't have the emotional currency to be with someone like me. Someone who measures success differently than your family does. Thomas, please. I loved you. Past tense. But I loved a version of you that I don't think exists anymore. Or maybe never existed. Either way, we are done. Don't do this, Caroline sobbed. Not on Christmas. You did this. Right here at this table. When you agreed with your sister that I'm not enough. I looked around at the family. At Victoria with her smug face. At Richard and Helen looking uncomfortable. At Christopher looking like he wanted to be anywhere else. Merry Christmas, I said. Enjoy the dinner I bought you. And I walked out. Into the cold Vermont night. Down that ridiculous circular driveway. To my 10-year-old Subaru that Victoria had sneered at. I sat in the car for a moment. Then I started laughing. Because I just spent $3,000, half a month's salary, to prove a point. And it was worth every penny. My phone started ringing before I even got out of the driveway. Caroline. 8 calls in 15 minutes. Then texts. Asterisk, please come back asterisk. Asterisk, I'm so sorry asterisk. Asterisk, I didn't mean it asterisk. Asterisk, my family is horrified asterisk. Asterisk, please talk to me asterisk. I didn't respond to any of them. I drove home. Put on comfortable clothes. Made hot chocolate. Watched It's a Wonderful Life. And I felt more peaceful than I had in months. The next morning was Christmas. I woke up to 43 text messages. Most were from Caroline. Apologizing. Explaining. Begging. A few were from other people. One from Christopher. Asterisk, hey man. That was intense last night. For what it's worth, I thought Victoria was way out of line. And you were right to leave. Asterisk. One from Helen. Asterisk, Thomas. I apologize for how you were treated in our home. It was disrespectful. I hope you can forgive us. Asterisk. Nothing from Victoria. No surprise there. And one from someone I didn't recognize. Turns out it was Amanda, Christopher's wife. Asterisk, Thomas. This is Amanda. I don't know if you remember me from dinner, but I wanted to say something. What you did last night was the most dignified thing I've ever seen. You didn't yell. You didn't insult anyone. You just quietly showed them exactly who they were. Christopher and I both agreed. Caroline made the biggest mistake of her life. I hope you have a good Christmas. You deserve better than what happened. Asterisk. I sat there reading that message 3 times. Then I responded. Asterisk, thank you. That means more than you know. Merry Christmas. Asterisk. I spent Christmas alone. And it was one of the best Christmases I'd had in years. No pressure. No performance. No trying to prove I was good enough. Just me. In my small apartment that I owned. Doing exactly what I wanted. Caroline called that afternoon. I answered. Thomas, please. I need to see you. To explain. There's nothing to explain. You made yourself clear. I was wrong. Victoria was wrong. Everyone was wrong. You're enough. You're more than enough. I don't need you to tell me that anymore. I already know. Please don't do this. Caroline, answer me honestly. If I showed up at your parents' house next Christmas, making the same salary, driving the same car, doing the same job, would you be proud to introduce me? Or would you be embarrassed? Silence. That's what I thought. I can change. I don't want you to change. I want you to want what I am, not what you wish I was. And you don't. Ido. You want me to want more. That's different. You want me to be ambitious in ways you understand. Make more money. Have a more impressive title. But that's not who I am. And I'm not going to apologize for it anymore. I never asked you to apologize. You did. Every time you suggested I do something different. Every time you looked embarrassed when people asked what I do. Every time you let your family make me feel small. Those were all apologies you demanded without asking. Caroline was crying. I love you. I know. But love isn't enough when you're ashamed of the person you love. I'm not ashamed. You are. And I refuse to spend my life with someone who thinks I need to be fixed. What about the money? You paid for that whole dinner. That proves you can. That proves nothing except that I'm willing to be stupid with money to make a point. Caroline, I have savings. I could have a nicer car if I wanted. I could live in a bigger place. But I don't want those things. I want to spend my money on books and travel and experiences. I want to live simply so I can work a job that fulfills me. That's my choice. And it's the right choice for me. But not for me. Apparently not. More crying. I'm so sorry. I believe you. But I'm still done. Thomas. Merry Christmas, Caroline. I hung up, blocked her number, and moved on. That was 3 years ago. I'm still teaching at the same high school. Still making basically the same salary. Still driving the same car. Still happy. I heard through mutual friends that Caroline dated a few other guys after me. One was a lawyer. One worked in finance. Both made good money. Both had the kind of careers her family approved of. Neither relationship lasted more than 6 months. Last month, I was at a coffee shop grading papers when someone sat down across from me. Amanda. Christopher's wife. Thomas. I thought that was you. Amanda. Hi. How are you? Good. Really good. Mind if I sit for a minute? Please. She sat down, looking slightly nervous. I've been wanting to reach out for a while now. After that Christmas dinner, I felt terrible about how you were treated. That's kind of you. But it was a long time ago. I know. But I think about it sometimes. About what you did. Paying for that dinner and just walking away with your dignity intact. It was impressive. Or stupid. She laughed. Maybe a little of both. But mostly impressive. She paused. Caroline asks about you sometimes. She does. Yeah. She's different now. I think that night changed her. Made her realize some things about herself she didn't like. Good for her. I mean that sincerely. She quit her job. Went back to school. She's getting her master's in social work. That surprised me. Really? Yeah. She said something about wanting work that matters. That makes a difference. Amanda smiled. I think you might have influenced her more than you know. I hope she's happy. I think she's trying to be. But I also think she's been trying to become someone you'd respect. Which is probably the wrong motivation, but at least it's growth. I didn't know what to say to that. Anyway, Amanda said, standing up. I just wanted to tell you that. And to say that I think you're great. What you do matters. I have a daughter now, she's 3, and I hope she has teachers like you. Thank you. That means a lot. Merry Christmas, Thomas. Merry Christmas, Amanda. She left, and I sat there with my coffee and my papers, thinking about that night 3 years ago. About standing up from that table. About paying that bill. About walking away. It was the best $3,000 I ever spent. Not because it proved anything to Caroline's family, but because it proved something to me. That I knew my worth. That I wouldn't accept being looked down on by people who measured value in dollars instead of impact. That I was willing to bet on myself. Christmas dinner was supposed to be warm and joyful. Instead, it became the night I learned who I was, and who I wasn't willing to be. She laughed at me. Her whole family looked down on me. So I paid the bill and walked away. And in doing so, I gave myself the best Christmas gift I could have received. Self-respect. Victoria was wrong about one thing. I'm not enough. I'm exactly enough. Just not for people who can't see it. And that's their loss, not mine. 3 years later, I'm still teaching. Still changing lives. Still measuring my success in the kids who come back years later to tell me I made a difference. That's worth more than any Christmas dinner. More than any family's approval. More than any amount of money. I am enough. I always was. I just needed one Christmas dinner and one quiet exit to remember it.